Hello guys, good morning. Yeah, today let's start with our environment here. So this is our application and we have to know before starting the course, we have to know what the environment we are using. So this is our application. In order for this application to be up and running, we need various components. Let's start with the overall environment, what we need and what we do. So our application is a web application. What's up? Our application is a web application. Whatever you are seeing in the front end, that's a web application which is hosted in Internet Information Services. Where do you see that? Okay, this is application. The application, you see. D365 application. It is hosted in Internet Information Services. IIS. This is the web browser. You see, this application is hosted in web browser. And our application needs a database which is SQL Server. DB. There is a constant interaction between these three in order to in order for our application to run. The communication happens like this. Let me show you the physical components. Yeah, when a browser, when you enter the URL, it goes to the Internet Information Services and then it it connects to the database and gets the information back and then processes it and displays it in the browser. Now let us see the actual components. So this is our application. And what is Internet Information Services? If you click on IIS, you will see this. The Internet Information Services. This is a server. This is actually the server running in Windows Windows OS. This is Windows Server OS, and this is hosted here. This AOS is our application actually. If you expand it, you will be able to see. Select this, and then you can click on it. It is actually hosted. You can see, explore. This is our application related files. You may check iOS service, and if you click here browse, it opens our application. And what about the database? If you click on SSMS or SQL Server in the search, you will be able to see. Just have to select the server name and connect. And this is SQL Server. Here, if you expand this node, you will be able to see all the databases available in the SQL Server. Here, this is our main database. This contains tables and the schema and everything which is related to our application. You have to know these guys because all the code uh, that is written in Visual Studio and all the data that is going to be used by our application is stored inside this database within these tables. These are all individual tables. Let's take open this. Just selected top 1,000 rows. You can see the data inside each table. So our application data is stored in the SQL Server, and our application is hosted in iOS service. This is how the application runs. Now, whenever a request is made from the browser, it goes to the Internet Information Services, and it has got our iOS service. So, iOS. This is nothing but this one actually, iOS service. This is the browser, and this is the database. Just have to remember. And the programming and everything we are going to write in an IDE. Which is integrated development environment. What is integration development environment? This is a tool where we write the code and do the programming for our application. In our case, that IDE is Visual Studio. Did you see that? Just click on Visual Studio. This is the Visual Studio where we are going to write the programming related to our application. So Visual Studio. First, you have to understand, guys, the flow of how the flow of information or the code is deployed in this AOS service. So you write the logic here, you write the programming like classes, tables, and all the logic inside this Visual Studio. When you build the application, Visual Studio is going to generate a deployable package and deploys it in the Internet Information Services. How? Right? Visual Studio, when you build the application, all the code that is written inside the Visual Studio is pushed into the Internet Information Services inside this AOS node. And once the deployment is complete, then this is available to the external world through the browser. This is just the basic flow of execution, let's say. So you write your logic here and then you build it and it is deployed in the Internet Information Services and it is made available to the public. And when the user make a request to open the application from the browser, the request is sent to Internet Information Services and it connects to any third-party cloud authentication it is required. In our case, it is Microsoft for the authentication. And also, if it needs any data, it connects to the SQL server and get the information back, and then processes that information and then gives that back to the browser, which is displayed in the browser. You can see that here. So Contoso works. I think I have shown you already. If you just browse it here, it directly opens up. There are few things you need to check in the Internet Information Services if it is not working fine. Here, just open this. You should always see whether this is running or not. Right now it is running. That's why the requests are coming to the Internet Information Services and then it is processing and then giving the information back. This is about the overview of the environment, how D365 works. In the real time, in the real world scenarios, to improve the performance and security, each component will be deployed in various servers. Like let's say the browser. This is the browser, right? This is the user environment. Users can be any number of users. This is one PC, one user. There can be n number of users. Makes concurrent requests. User to browser. Same way, this is user 3 browser. There can be any number of users, and all the users will be directed to the Internet Information Services. And this whole component will be placed in one server. In our case, all the three components, Visual Studio, SQL Server, and IIS, and also the browser, we are the user. Everything is placed in a single computer because this is a development environment. In real time, the users will be logging in from various other computers, but this IIS will be hosted in one separate server, and SQL server will be placed in another different server, and the communication happens through the internet over HTTP or HTTPS. And this development environment will be in another machine like us. We just build the application here and then deploy it into the Internet Information Services. And if there are any changes to the DB, those changes were separately deployed into the SQL server. And then this is made up and running, and this will be accessed. This will be, accessed by the users. This is how the real-time environment looks like. There are other components involved, not only these things, there are other components involved. I'm not explaining them because to avoid any confusion. Do you have any questions? Okay, okay, that's fine. Uh, so let's start with a basic program in Visual Studio. First, you need to open the Visual Studio. There you will see this extension. Just click on it. Open. Select Dynamics 365. Then select Model Management and create model. Now, what is this model? Let me explain what that is. Here we will be exploring the application one by one. Like whenever we encounter something, then I'll be explaining that. What is a model? Again, what is a model? See, as you might have known, Dynamics 365 is a whole new application with inbuilt features developed by Microsoft, right? While developing the application, Microsoft has segregated various functionalities and put them in separate models, named the each functionality into different models. Example, you might have known or not known. What are the common models? One second. Model name. Ng. Model 1. We'll also see this is a layer letter. Publisher is Vijay. I'm giving the description as Vijay. Yeah. Application Foundation Suite. Yeah. So while developing this application, Microsoft has segregated various functionalities and put those each functionality in a model. Model is nothing but a logical grouping of certain functionality. So you see, the first one is application foundation. So it has put some functionality inside this application foundation model and put it inside the 365, and then again application foundation, application suite. It builds an application suite, a separate model, and put it inside Dynamics 365. And it built some model for tax related things and put it inside Dynamics 365, and some ledgers related all the functionality. It created a model and put it inside Dynamics 365. And what else? Accounts, um, directories. It created a model and put it inside Dynamics 365. Like model, these are all various functionalities developed separately and then clubbed together and then kept inside Dynamics 365. These are all models. I hope you understand. Even if you don't, you will get better clarity when we move forward. Please just keep this in mind. Just remember, models are a logical grouping of various functionalities put within the Dynamics 365. So now we are going to create a model here. Go back. Model name is I'll just select 23. Angela 23. Publisher is me. And this layer. Now you have to select layer. Again, layer is a concept which you need to have a little understanding. Again, a little understanding is just required at this layer, at this point, and going forward, you will be able to understand more depth. Actually, during this course or your development phase, you won't be seeing much use of this. But I'll explain what layering is. So as I explained, this is a Dynamics 365, right? This, if you take this Dynamics 365 as a whole, Dynamics 365 as a whole, this is completely developed by Microsoft. This is completely developed by Microsoft. That means all the models available here are provided by Microsoft. Let's say there is another company called some third party, what do you say? Let's say Bosch, not Bosch. You might get confused. Hmm, some third party, finance vendor. Let's say there is a third party software company which is called finance vendor, finance vendor, which has its functionality. How to explain? Yeah, let's say a third party. This is a third party company, and this customizes this Microsoft D365. Let's say for if this Dynamics 365 is used by the banks, it has it has come up with some functionality, additional functionality. So what this company does, it buys Microsoft 365, it buys this Microsoft 365 as a copy. So the whole thing comes here as a copy, and this finance vendor, what he does is it adds its own functionality. How? Remember this name? ISV. So he buys this Microsoft package as a whole from the Microsoft, and he adds additional functionality to this existing Dynamics 365 product and combines this whole package and buys it to the individual users. Individual users in the sense, let's say this finance vendor is only offering solutions to banking systems, banking customers. So these banking customers cannot directly use Dynamics 365 because they might be needing some banking specific features which are not fully available in a default offering of the product. So this finance vendor has chosen that features and developed them and then integrated them in the Dynamics 365, and then he resells it to the banks because he's a finance vendor. He packages this whole thing and resells it to banks. I think you understand. So, so there are third-party companies which customize the default offering of the Microsoft and add additional features and then sell it separately to the customers. These are called independent software vendors or resellers. That is what this layer means. If it is a independent software reseller, independent software vendor, he will be selecting ISV and then creating the models and then starting the development. And here USR means user. Once the user buy this product, once the user buy this product, including the ISV changes, including the ISV changes in the sense we don't directly buy from the Microsoft. We buy from the separate vendor because we need additional functionality on top of Microsoft. So we chose the finance vendor who is offering additional features. Then we buy from him and then start using our product. Then once we got here, again we have our own developers who customizes furthermore. This is user layer, USR. So let's say we bought this application from the vendor and this whole system has vendor changes along with the Microsoft changes. Now we add the customization as a user. We select user and then give this project name and then select and then click on next, create new package. What we are going to develop here is in a new package. Select next. And as I explained you guys, these are all the available models Microsoft has given, or if it is from a third party, as I mentioned, the third party has added few more changes, right? In the ISV layer, this ISV layer can contain multiple models. All are visible here. Whatever the package we want for our new model to be built, we'll select. I'm just selecting few basic models for our development here. These are basic. Then click on next. Create a new project. We are going to create a new project here. Make this my default model for new projects. No, I'm not going to select that. I'm just creating a new project. I don't want this model to be default for the for the new projects. You will be able to understand if you practice it. Okay, click on next. Now we have selected the models and everything. Now it is asking us to create a new project. Let us name it Angel July 23. The solution project in the same directory. No, create. This is the .NET framework 4.7.2. Our application is developed based on .NET framework only. That's why you have to select the .NET framework solution. I'm just creating it. Yeah, with this we have successfully created a project, just project. As you can see the details here. Here our model name is ANJ July 2023. What does this actually means? So once we started writing the code and then we deploy it, our model will also be added to the list of existing features here. So our model will be within the Dynamics 365. It will be added to the whole Dynamics D365 application. Then company. This this I have to explain more while. Okay, I'll explain it right away. If we go to this application, this is the application, right? So here you have something called company accounts data. What is this company accounts data? This whole application is configured for different companies. These are all the available companies within the organization. Now, don't get confused with the company. Actually, this is called in the real world. This is called legal entity. What does that mean, legal entity? Okay, let's take an example. Let's take Reliance Industries. So Reliance Industry has bought this our D365 application. Within the Reliance Industry, there are many subdivisions like Reliance Oil and Reliance Entertainment like Jio and Reliance Mobile Services, Jio Cinema Entertainment, Reliance Music, Jio Savan, and Reliance Finance and everything. All the separate departments will be uh, considered as different legal entities. All the entities will be shown here. You just have to select which legal entity you are going to work on. This is what this legal entity means. And in our D365 terminology, we call this as company. Got it? So for the sample application, this is a sample application we are using provided by Microsoft. So Microsoft has already configured few legal entities for us. So USMF, I'll select USMF because US Contoso Entertainment is a manufacturing entity. MF means manufacturing entity. So if you select USMF, you are going to see the data related to USMF only. So that is what we are mentioning here for which default project this model is we are building. Here in the company, you just have to mention USMF. Okay, this is USMF. Okay, if you do that and if you run it, the application is going to start in USMF only. Initially, when we open this application, you saw this application is opened with DAT. Now, when you change it to USMF here, you can change it to anything. And when you run this application, that AOS application is going to start in with that USMF legal entity. So this is it for the project properties. There are other things as well. These are important things to know, and I am going to explain synchronous data on build and other things going forward on the fly whenever it is needed. So there is another thing which you need to understand more, that is Application Explorer. What is this Application Explorer? If you want to see this application, if you don't see this in your environment, what you have to do is open, click on View, and then see Application Explorer. What is this Application Explorer? As I explained in the previous OneNote, whatever the models you are seeing, all these models are visible here. So be it Microsoft developed applications, Microsoft developed models, or if you bought this application from a third party vendor, his models and your models. Once you build this, once you build this project is going to generate one model that is also displayed here. Here you can see the model application suite. In the application suite, you have this application with textbooks integration. This also belongs to application suite. Applications with engine integration. Here also, this is application workspaces. These are all the models, the packages inside the models. You can see them in the application explorer. You can switch between the model and actual components. Close. No, not this classic view. That is one view, and you can switch the view separately here. And if you switch from classic to modern, you will see the components. Okay, what we can do is to explain this. This is important, guys. Let's spend some time understanding this because this is the thing you use daily in your regular tasks or regular job. So let's. This is our model, right? Let's add a class. A runnable class job. I'll explain what a runnable class is. Sample job. It is called, this class is called a job for a purpose. I'll explain what that is. So we've created this class, and once you build it, just build it. It's just in the code. Now we need to create a package for this. For that, what you need to do is right click on the project, then click on build. Our build is complete. Now let us see, as I mentioned here, all the models in the Dynamics 365 provided by Microsoft, and also the third-party models. Along with that, our models should be displayed in the AOT. Let us see whether we can see this Angel 23 model or not. Model view. Here you can see Angel 23. Inside this, these are all the groups. We don't have them, but if you add something, let's check. This is segregated according to the types of components objects inside this model. We don't have base enums. I'll explain what base enums are and the tables. We don't have tables, any table. Our model doesn't have any tables. But what we have in this model, we have a class. You should be able to see that in the code. You see, our class is available here, and method inside this class is also shown here. This helps, this application explorer helps in exploring the objects or the components within the any model, any model available in this system. This is important because there are many times you need to refer to the existing classes and see what they are doing and everything. This application explorer is the place where you will go and see and examine the existing components. So this is it. This is a model view, and you have to switch to classic view most of the time. Yeah. What this classic view does is it consolidates everything, all the models into separate components. That's it. Here also, this is just a change in view. Here also you will be able to see the class, our class here. How? Let me search it here with our name, sample job, right? You can see here, it's in the sample job, and the model where exactly the sample job resides, that will be shown on the right side in the square brackets. ANJ Joule 23, ANJ Joule 23. So this is the application explorer. So whatever the components you add here can be seen here. Okay. And to coming to this solution, the model, the model inside the model which you are working should be placed inside a project, and this project should be placed inside the solution. A solution can have multiple projects, multiple projects. This is the overview of our environment. There are other things like how these models are actually stored inside. How these models are actually stored inside inside the AOS service. We are going to see today is a second starting day. I don't want to overwhelm you with the only the concepts. Bear with me for 1 to 2 days. We are going to have this discussion because it is very essential for you to understand. As you might have known, this is uh, this is used regularly in the job to understand what is what. You have to put more concentration on this. Otherwise, you'll just be doing things without knowing what you are doing. This is really important. So we are going to delve to the depth that is needed for you. Okay. Today I'm going to stop it here. I hope I explained, I covered well for this environment.